Hey everyone, it is Rob Ryder, and today we're going to make them whine and ask for a W-9 and other disclosures. Because what we want to do is figure out what satisfies probable cause. And for those who don't know who I am, this is Rob Ryder, and my email address is courtofrecord@aol.com, courtofrecord@aol.com. Keep up to date on what's going to happen. You need to sign up on robcourtofrecord.wordpress.com, and if I do a video or whatever I put on there, you'll get some kind of notice, apparently. And I need you to donate. If you can, it'd be wonderful. You could donate by PayPal, and the PayPal account name is ashleyritlewski@gmail.com. I'll spell that for you. Take a second. Grab a piece of paper and pen. Hit the pause. Okay, we're back. ASHLEYRYTLEWSKI@gmail.com, or snail mail to Robert Ritlewski, 10955 14 Mile Road, Rockford, Michigan 49341. And this is Wednesday, September 10th, 2014. So, some of the things you might want to think about if you're in court. You may want to say, let's say you're in a traffic case, whatever, something to do with local government. You're going to want the EIN, a completed W-9, and the IRS determination letter for the municipal corporation you claim to represent. Of course, you're talking to somebody when you say that. So I need the EIN, completed W-9, IRS determination letter for the municipal corporation you claim to represent. Alternatively, I need the plaintiff's EIN, which is the employer identification number, legal title name, license to do business under an assumed name, and an IRS determination letter for your client. So the first one is something you might do with, like I said, if you're in trouble with some apparent government entity. And the second one would be if you're, let's say, in a foreclosure, right? Write the attorney a record and tell them you need the plaintiff's EIN, their legal title name, and their license to do business under an assumed name, because the plaintiff's name that you're going to see on your documentation, you're not going to find anywhere. They don't exist. Right? There is a bank that exists under a name slightly different or a lot different, but as it's written in the blank as the plaintiff, you're not going to find them. So write to the attorney of record for that plaintiff and tell him you need that plaintiff. Write the name down just the way you see it on the paperwork. For the court case, whatever it is, you need their EIN number, their legal title name, their license to do business under an assumed name, and an IRS determination letter. So, just real quick, there's a Department of Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, the Federal, State, Local Government Compliance Self-Assessment, right, FSLG, which is one of the agencies we might contact with our complaint. But it gives elected officials, and it gives a definition. It says elected officials are subject to a degree of control that typically makes them employees under the common law. Under common law, if you hire an employee, you have the power to direct their actions, or how they accomplish a task. If it's what was the other one? Independent contractor, you don't have any control over how they complete the task, only that they do complete the task that you've given them. But anyways, the reason is examples of public officials include, but not limited to, governor, mayor, county commissioner, judge, justice of the peace, sheriff, constable, register of deeds, building and plumbing inspectors. These are the people, because they say that they're officers of something, right? Okay, well then, officer, I need the EIN, a completed W-9, and an IRS determination letter for the municipal corporation, government entity, you claim to represent. And the thing about this isn't really done by, we are doing it by a FOIA, Freedom of Information can do it by a FOIA, but you could just direct your questions to one of these officers and tell them, hey, I need this information. And if they don't give it to you, well, it's supposed to be publicly disclosed information, and so they've already broke the law. You know, what are we going to do about it? So we're asking for next. But what you might want to put on a FOIA, things to ask, or on any correspondence you may want to send to try to get this information, you're going to want to get their EIN number, their employee identification number. So it's not an EIN number, it's EIN, which is the employer identification number, a completed W-9, articles of incorporation, articles of association, could be one or the other, application for Form 1023 or application Form 1024, which are the two different forms used to apply for some kind of tax exempt or nonprofit status. And what other one was there? Form 990 return. Form 990 return, which some don't need to have, but everybody, and I pointed this out in the last video, there's a Form 990 dash something, electronic only, even for entities whose gross receipts were less than $25,000 to fill out. And an IRS determination letter ruling on their status. Because you don't just apply, the IRS has to agree. And they have to agree every year. Well, at least that's what it looks like. I did some videos on the church, and it showed that the church has a group determination letter from the IRS to this to the bishops' conference, which must mean the bishops' conference is some kind of civil corporation. Not surprising, but nonprofit. And so every year they get this letter, and it said our records show that in 1948 you got your first determination letter, and blah 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 blah, and it's still in effect, and you know, whatever year it is, they have to get one every year. So if they can't produce this paperwork, it's a very good sign that, hey, you're not who you say you are. If they want to be a municipal corporation, municipal corporations can take tax-exempt contributions. Yeah, that's why you need a W-9. It'd be a contribution. Well, in that case, you know, but the same with the church. If the church wants a contribution, whoever it is, they need to provide you a W-9. So you can say, I need your W-9. Why? Well, I want to contribute. Right? This is part of them getting you to sign papers that only you sign as a unilateral contract, because unilateral contracts are only used for gifts and donations. Right? If it was a business deal, you'd both be signing the contract. And they never sign anything. You go open up a bank account, they don't sign. So, you know, you go to get a loan, they don't sign. Nobody signs. You get utilities turned on, nobody signs. You're the only one that signs. It's all gift or donation from you in a system that's set up for them to take this donation. Apparently put it into some kind of CAFR account and, you know, live off the interest. So based on these things, and having gone and asked for some of this and gotten some things back, and I have to thank Roe for that, because she's the go-getter, goes and gets all this stuff. Wonderful. We got some stuff to look at, and it prompted me to write the following complaint, which I'm about to send to the U.S. Department of Treasury, Office of the Inspector General. Eric M. Thorson is the occupant. And so they have a waste, fraud, and abuse link on their page. And there's also the U.S. Department of Treasury for tax issues or something like that. They have one. We could do it there also. But because this isn't just tax issues, this is just waste, fraud, and abuse and enslavement of mankind, I said, yeah, I'm going to send it to this one first. And so it just appeared to me, as I was thinking about doing this video, it'd be better to start at the end of where I am now and go back and show where the information is and where it came from, and then maybe decide, well, shit, I'm going to do this here. All right, so I'm going to send a complaint, actually an information, to the Office of the Inspector General, U.S. Department of Treasury. And we can see what they say. Last time I did this, it wasn't to this one, it was to the one for taxes, but, not the last time, the first time I did this, they had a special agent call me, and he came, and we talked for an hour and a half, him and his partner, and they bought me 3 cups of coffee, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me in this whole movement, or whatever you want to call it. They told me that's the most intelligent explanation for why I've ever heard for why a man believes what he believes. That was 3 years ago. All right. So, anywho, so I'm going to say, please send a special agent of the Inspector General to administer me an oath, take my deposition, and witness my affidavit testifying to vacated constitutionally enacted public offices inhabited by usurpers of the sovereign powers of the state. Supposed governmental units, political subdivisions, and municipal corporations having no lawful standing, and an association of conspirators using color of law and a simulated legal process as parts of an organized criminal syndicate scheme to enslave mankind by such means as the enforced disappearance of a person. That's why you're always sued in your surname, given name, because they won't sue you in your proper name. Then they'd actually be, committing a crime. Antitrust, tax evasion, human trafficking, and other crimes against humanity by entities claiming entitlement to tax exemption and non-profit status. Yes, that is what's happening. The scheme is simple enough. Act like you're a municipal corporation without obtaining a determination letter from the IRS confirming tax-exempt status. Use the sovereign powers of the state to enforce free labor. Pump the ill-gotten gains into CAFR accounts, report nothing to the IRS, and live off the interest. Entities involved include towns, townships, villages, cities, counties, school districts, road districts, drainage districts, and others as determined by the Internal Revenue Code. Vacate constitutional offices. Conceal method of proper registration of electors in their municipalities. Issue bonds instead of using net assets to pay debt. Send notice of levy to undetermined addresses, then claim non-payment of tax. Issue a lien against the local government, which is the people, me and you, the electors. Then put local government into Chapter 11. That's all stuff we covered a year and a half, 2 years ago. Corporations apply for an EIN, but either do not file an application for tax exemption by way of IRS Form 1023 or 1024, or don't ask IRS for determination letter, never file any form of Form 990, nor properly fill out a W-9. Use a common name and conceal the legal title name associated with the EIN. You do those steps there, hey, you're in, right? You are now as evil as they are. The de jure offices are empty, and actors are usurping the sovereign powers of the state, the power to tax, the power of eminent domain, and the police power. Those are the powers of the state, so says the IRS. Suspected, possessed, devil-worshipping pagans use these powers to restrict free trade and commerce, coercing others to contract with them by way of a unilateral contract of gift or donation. You're just going to give us, right, to them. They're saying you're just going to give us your property. You promised. We got your signature. Isn't that your signature? All right, so if you break your promise, well, that would be a sin. You're a liar. And so they're going to use Old Testament law against you. Concealing the legal title and principal address of their corporation, they sue as a fictitious plaintiff, such as people of the state of Michigan. That's like a common name. That isn't the name of the organization that it represents. That's a common name. The unsuspecting alleged defendant, that's a guy's surname given name, right, like a John Doe, is a kind of a John Doe fictitious entity in need of an administrator. Said administrators claiming a trust relationship manipulate the accounts of our all caps estate, your name in all caps, but never appeared to represent us. Overlapping municipal jurisdictions claim the right to tax, quasi-courts enforce with police power, and all of them involved in claiming your property by eminent domain, abandoned, or the like. They have practice courts for practicing attorneys to act using fictitious plaintiffs and defendants in uncontested property hearings, or coerce the donation of property by way of unilateral contract. Even employees of religious institutions get on the act, forming civil corporations under conditions contrary to both church and state law. A whole bunch on the church coming up. Foolproof evidence to this man-made disaster, which would allow your rapid response, investigation, and use of superintendent control by the federal government, is as close as you, now this is talking to the Treasury, checking these entities' EIN numbers against IRS filings for tax exemption and IRS issued determination letters confirming tax exempt status. First they got to apply, then they have to be confirmed. For probable cause, simply check for determination letters from the IRS for the following EINs of supposed tax-exempt municipal corporations and examine the attached W-9, which is for the clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County, 36-6006-541. That's your EIN number. And when you take that EIN number and you go to the right, so now we're talking about what we think of as a court, the clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County, Illinois, Chicago. You take that number and you go put it into the IRS website where they have a spot for you to check for tax exempt status of EIN numbers. It'll come up and say no record found. It'll do the same when you put in the city of Geneva's, Geneva Public Library Districts, Kane County Dist 303, Kane County Community School District 303. Put any of those in, they all come up the same, no records. Yet these are all supposed to be tax exempt municipal corporations. There you go. The W-9 certification for the clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County indicates backup withholding required for a supposed tax-exempt entity. So we're going to look at some interesting things to look at a W-9. I didn't know were there before, but we should be pointing them out. These crimes I have now informed you of are within federal subject matter jurisdiction by way of acts of Congress, such as the Civil Rights Act 1866, which says they can no longer use color of law against you, and the Sherman Antitrust Act, the Internal Revenue Code, Titles 15, 18, 26 of U.S. Code. Thankfully, the amended Inspector General Act of 1978 made special agents of an Inspector General ex officio deputy U.S. Marshals, conferring on said agents the power of a federal magistrate judge. That's the dude that can take your sworn complaint. Right? He can take your complaint, put the seal on it, boom. If he's done that, he believes there's probable cause. Now he can take it to the district court judge to get the an arrest warrant. As the sovereign of a nation of one, citizen of the kingdom of heaven, ex officio member of the federal government, I respectfully ordered your participation, investigation, and annihilation of these enemies, foreign and domestic. Further, I ask you identify the municipality where we are supposed to register our natural and legal persons so as to claim it as our domicile, recognize as having a sui juris legal personality, osteries conforming the temporal order to the will of the Lord. Osteries would be the doorkeepers of the kingdom of heaven. We're going to keep them devil worshiping pagans out. You want to come in and try to sue in a fictitious name? I'm afraid not. Everything is by your name. Right now, they've slandered your God-given character and your good name because they sue you in this fictitious name, this bastardization of your name. Adulteration, actually. Hey, that's against the commandments, too. Who is my local federal district court judge? Can he witness my sworn allegiance, accept my sureties, and determine my recognizance bond? Eric M. Thornton, our Lord Emmanuel, the Christ Jesus, Son of God, ask for your testimony. Shall you allow the continued persecution of his people? Will you allow God's enemy to continue his rule? Or will you be his servant, manifesting his prophecy? They will not know the hour of my coming. That's what I'm counting on. I pray you are his servant and await your reply. Please have your agents contact me as soon as possible so we may bring on their Armageddon. Have them bring along the IRS determination letter for U.S. Department of Treasury. Because guess what? That's a municipal corporation. I want to see the IRS determination letter that you really exist. Signed, Robert Allen Rutluski, Officer Christ, blah, 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 blah. And I got to put my address stuff on. So that's what I'm thinking of sending to him. Oh, so let's see where we go from here. Just some things. So now the IRS doesn't issue a tax exempt number. What the IRS issues is a EIN, employer identification number, that you can use for identification, and the IRS will give you, based on that number, a determination letter if you're tax exempt or not. But the state does offer tax exempt numbers, right? So when you're talking about tax exemption, what we found when they send a FOIA, they want to send something like this from the Illinois Department of Revenue, and I'm just saying, well, this is nice, but it has nothing to do with you. But what can we learn from it? So this was to the County of Kane Treasurer. What I find interesting, we have issued the following new tax exemption identification number to the County of Kane of Geneva, Illinois. Well, how can the County of Kane be of the city of Geneva? Geneva is a city in the County of Kane. Or is it? Right? Or is Geneva Ill the municipal corporation, and the County of Kane is an extension of that? It's just interesting, right? So here we go, County of Kane. But they've issued it to County of Kane of Geneva Ill. So County of Kane by itself is the common name. It's not the legal title name of whatever this entity is. So, there's one thing to look at. Well, they're doing business in an assumed name because it isn't their legal name. That's an assumed name. They should have a DBA. They should have a license to do business. They should have a license to solicit. They should have lots of things. And not just the city of, or the county of, but any of these municipalities. All right. Now, look at some other ones here. City of Geneva. And I want to do this one real quick. So here's an example. This one we talked about. Geneva Public Library District, right? They wrote to the IRS, this back in 2012. So they had this on hand. We asked for it. This is what they gave as the answer to a FOIA. Taxpayer identification number. And it goes to Geneva Public Library District. This letter is a response to your telephone inquiry. Your employee identification number is. Please keep this number in your permanent records. You should enter your name and the EIN exactly as shown above on all business federal forms and require its use and on any related correspondence documents. Okay, and then here's another one of these. So this is, right, tax exempt. I'm going to try to pass this off. So now this is the Geneva Public Library of Geneva, Illinois. So technically, the County of Kane, or Kane County, whatever one we looked at before, of Geneva, Illinois, is no different than the public library. Right? So, Geneva Public Library. And this one went to the treasurer also. That's interesting. Because the other one went to the treasurer. I have to remember that office. Okay, City of Geneva. All right, so here's City of Geneva. Just a typical. This is a request for records. See, this isn't under Illinois Freedom of Information Act, right? So you put your name on. Describe in detail public records you are requesting in space provided below. City of Geneva, TIN, EIN number, bylaws, articles of incorporation, letter from IRS for status determination, right? Status, are they tax exempt or not? So they had a question about that. And somebody said, oh. So anyway, so now we look. See, we got things that have been circled in blue. Well, where'd that blue come from? It came from whoever did this. All right. And whoever did this, because this is official use only, forwarded it to the CAO. That must be the Chief Administrative Officer. I'm guessing. All right. Fire Department, Police Department, Finance, Admin, IT, Human Resources, CAO. Yeah, I'm going to say it's Chief Administrative Officer or Chief Accounting Officer, maybe. Anyways, they thought there was the tax exempt document that we've already seen, and we'll look at another one for these guys. So let's take a look. Oh, I didn't look at everything I want to look at that one yet. Okay. They did the same thing, right? We received a request dated this 2011. Verify your ID number. Here it is. Your ID number is keep the same, you know, like we talked about. Blah 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 blah. And what else did they give us? Office of the Secretary of State. Please, because she wanted bylaws, so per your request, enclosed is a certified copy of incorporation proceedings for the City of Geneva, Kane County, Illinois. This is 2008, right? So we'll give this to her. And here's a certificate from the Secretary of State to all to whom these present shall come greeting. And somebody's going to say that the City of Geneva, that attached is a true copy of the incorporation proceeding of the City of Geneva. Let's see what it is. And all they gave was a certificate of authentication. There's no proceedings, just a certificate of authentication to something that we don't even know what the proceedings were about. It says a few things, but you know, it don't look like there's any seals on it, or you know, I don't even know what they did here. But what I'm saying is there's no proceedings. And then they wanted to show some stuff out of an old book that had to do with the towns. See, it says towns. Now let me do this real quick. An act to incorporate the town of Geneva, Kane County, Illinois. Let's pay attention to the case of the words, or the letters. Be it enacted by the people of the state of Illinois as represented in the General Assembly, that the inhabitants of what is now known as lowercase the town of Geneva, in the county of Kane, state of Illinois, be and they are hereby constituted a body politic and corporate by the name and style, the town of Geneva. Proper case, the town. Right? They took lowercase the town and made a proper case the town, and that was the incorporation. But that's the town of Geneva, and we're talking about the city of Geneva. You know, so what? My question is, what did this have to do with what they showed us? And of course, the answer is, it doesn't have a damn thing to do except to offer you some piece of paper and hope that you go away. And then they sent, which is basically Geneva, Illinois Code of Ordinances, which I think we could find online anyway. So this isn't really what she asked for, but you know, there they gave it to him, gave it to her. So here's another. This is the city of Geneva, right? And when you take their number 36-6005893 and put it in the computer on the IRS's website, you get no records. Well, to me, that's probable cause for an investigation. Right? Either it was a mistake or there's a crime, right? But you don't know until you investigate, and what you need to investigate is probable cause, and the probable cause is when someplace is supposed to be tax exempt, number doesn't give them a tax exempt status, there seems to be a problem. That's my take of it. I wanted to look at this one more time, because why did I go past this? They also gave us, see, we got this W-9. We didn't ask for W-9, but they gave us one. Say, oh, wonderful. And from that, after actually reading the damn thing, saying, well, yeah, let's ask for them all the time. Because here's a W-9, Geneva Public Library District. On this line, second line. Nothing on the name line. Very important. Oh, they call themselves governmental, and they give an address. And then it says, enter your TIN in the appropriate box. The TIN provided must match the name given on the name line to avoid backup withholding. Wait, man, there is nothing on there is no name on the name line. But there is an EIN number, because, you know, that's said in here, EIN is the TIN number. So, point being, enter your TIN in the appropriate box. The TIN provided must match the name given on the name line to avoid backup withholding. If the name line doesn't match the entity that has this employer identification number, then you as the payee, no, let me see, you the payee or the payor? You're the payor. You as the payer were supposed to withhold 28% for taxes. Oh, hang on just a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. It was my landlord. Hope everything's okay. But I could really use your help. If you can help me with some rent, go back to the beginning of the video and send me a donation. So anyways, now the next thing is they have to certify, right? So not only does the employer identification number not match what's in the name line, because there is nothing in the name line, certification. Under penalty of perjury, I certify that the number shown on this form is my correct taxpayer identification number. And I am not subject to backup withholding because I am exempt from backup withholding, or I have not been notified by the Internal Revenue Service that I am subject to backup withholding, right? So they don't know and they didn't ask. As a result of failure to report any interest or dividends, or the IRS has notified me that I no longer subject to backup withholding and I am a U.S. citizen or other U.S. person defined below. It's interesting what a U.S. person is defined as, and the FACTA codes entered in this form, if any, indicate blah 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 blah. Okay, certification instructions. You must cross out item 2 above if you have been notified by the IRS that you are currently subject to backup withholding because you failed to report all interest and dividends on your tax return. For real estate transactions, item 2 does not apply. For mortgage, interest paid, acquisitions of abandoned or secured property, cancellation of debt, contributions to an individual retirement agreement, arrangement, and generally payments other than interest and dividends, you are not required to sign the certification, but you must provide your correct TIN. See the pages. And then somebody signed it, this U.S. person. So it just seems to me like this is incorrect. But because the EIN number doesn't match the name, you were supposed to, when you made a payment, hold back 28%. Right? It's the payee or the payor's responsibility. Let's look at the definition of a U.S. person. An individual who is a U.S. citizen or U.S. resident alien, okay? A partnership, corporation, company, association created or organized in the United States under the laws of the United States, or under the laws created in that, organized in the United States, or under the laws of the United States. An estate, domestic trust, those are all U.S. persons. So to me, your all caps is an estate. That's the U.S. person. right? I don't know what they mean by an individual who is a U.S. citizen. Now, we could be U.S. citizens. I think that what they've done, because, what I was looking at, when you've looked at enough of this stuff, and we'll just fast forward and think about this for a second. If all of these municipal corporations, which are what all political subdivisions are supposed to be now, are municipal corporations, if they haven't successfully completed the paperwork with the IRS to be a tax-exempt entity, then they're not the government. So who is? Who has gotten a determination letter back from the IRS that says that they are a municipal corporation and in good standing with the IRS? We're gonna try to get that answered. I was gonna do it as part of my complaint, but when I was yakking the roll a little bit earlier, she said, just send them a FOIA. Yeah, we'll just send a FOIA to the IRS and say, send me all the municipal corporations, a list of all the municipal corporations that you provided a determination letter of their tax exempt status, and see what they send you. Right? Because we need to find one that's been properly done, and I have to believe they are someplace. And if they have been, that's the one you want to go register in, because you need to have recognizance. Right? Reading these all these municipal codes for these cities that we've been looking at and so forth. For instance, I think it was in Batavia, Illinois, that you had to have a solicitor's license, basically to do any kind of business, or to ask for donations. And you got the solicitor's license not by going to the city clerk, but you got it by going to the police department. You think about, okay, yeah, you go to the police department and they're going to put you in as a solicitor, so now you're a known entity within the municipality, right? They may even take your finger. I think they said they took your fingerprints. You needed to be fingerprinted, right? You're going to be put into the records of the municipality, and you're no longer a John Doe. They know who you are. Because I would think when you fill the card out, you can do it the way you'd like to. With that in mind, Roe asked about doing this, and they said, "No, we don't do that with anybody." Right? Yeah, you just get a no solicitor card and put it on your window. So that was the chief of police telling her that nobody in the city has a solicitor's license, although the way it reads, everybody in the city ought to have a solicitor's license. We haven't decided if we're going to put a complaint in on that yet. We decided, yeah, that's small time. Let's get the Treasury involved, right? Point out crimes against humanity and antitrust activity and tax evasion, and right, and see what they do with that. Okay. What else we got here? Not that one. Okay. Is this the one? There was one of them that got a sentence here that. Okay, this is that's what this one is. This is for another library. They were quick to answer. Some places we've got a bunch of them out, and they've gotten really slow answering now. Like Kane County doesn't want to answer. The Forest Preserve doesn't want to answer. Batavia doesn't want to answer. The Road District doesn't want to answer. And. I think they've caught on to what we're doing, right? So they're not answering. But this was to do with the St. Charles Public Library District, and it talked about how it was set up, and under the act, a number of voters of a territory, right? Didn't say a city, a village. It's a territory, like territorial law. Without a local public library, may petition the county circuit court to cause the question of formation of a library district to be submitted to the circuit court, may enter an order calling for an election. Well, I guess that's what they did. Right? And that's what created this. And so as this went on, it talked about what a political subdivision is, and here's a good part. The term political subdivision is not defined in the Internal Revenue Code. However, Section 1.103-1B of the Income Tax Regulations provides that the term political subdivision denotes any division of any state or local government unit which is a municipal corporation or which has been delegated the right to exercise part of the sovereign power of the unit. 3 generally acknowledged sovereign powers of the state are the power to tax, the power of eminent domain, and the power of police, and the police power. If they can levy a tax, take your property, enforce the law, that's the sovereign powers. And to do those, that makes them a political subdivision. As a political subdivision, they have to be a municipal corporation. As a municipal corporation, they have to have a frickin' determination letter from the IRS saying that they are. And so, like a municipal corporation, they're not a 501c, right? It's a Section 170, Section 170, what would you call it? I just call it Section 170, which has to do with tax-exempt contributions. If you want to contribute to that entity, right, well, you can, tax-free. That's why I asked for a W-9. But that's all we're ever doing with these people when they enforce the law, is they're getting us to give them a unilateral contract, a gift or donation, but they're not giving us the W-9. So anyways, it was concluded the district is a political subdivision, right? Because you know why? Because they had the right to tax. It was in here somewhere. Accordingly, contributions to the district are described in Section 170C1 of the Code and are deductible to the extent provided by Section 170B1A. So Section 170 entity, not a 501c entity, Section 170 entity. Right? The Code defines charitable contributions as a contribution or gift, donation or gift, to or for the use of a state, a possession of the United States, any political subdivision of the state, any possession of the United States, the District of Columbia, but only if the contribution is made for exclusively public purposes. So they say, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we want to be a political subdivision, but they're taking your contributions and stuffing them into CAFR accounts. So, okay, that wasn't quite the one I wanted to find. Oh, not that one either. Running out of choices. Okay, here's another one. This one went to the business manager, not the treasurer, but same type of thing, right? St. Charles Public Library District of St. Charles, Illinois. So this thing about the comma IL, St. Charles, we saw Geneva, comma IL, right? That's the entity that these other ones are part of. And the question is, where is it located? I think because they're using just the 2-letter designation, that's saying that that place is registered in Washington, D.C. And it's just doing business out here in the territory because Washington, D.C. is the capital of the federal government. And the federal government has jurisdiction in the territory. It doesn't say Illinois, right? Illinois doesn't really exist. They never split the Northwest Ordinance. They never split the territory up properly. From the very first split, it was incorrect. It's their oldest trick in their book. We're going to write a law. This is the way it should be done. And the very first thing we're going to do is do something different and create a custom and go a different way. And pretty soon people have forgotten that that's the way it's supposed to be done. To the point that even the counter trolls will think that we're crazy when we tell them that's the way it's supposed to be done because, well, this is what they want to say is, well, this is the way we've always done it. What do I care? Right? Here's that thing on solicitation. The following fines are hereby established for the violation of the following section code, provided the such fine 10 days, blah, 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 $100. Soliciting without a permit. Registered solicitor, any person who has obtained a valid certificate of registration is hereinafter provided, and which certificate is in the possession of the solicitor on his or her person while engaging in soliciting. So if somebody was to come up and say they want your license, the cop, you want to hand them that. That's your license, not your driver's license. Soliciting any one of the following activities: seeking to obtain orders for the purchase of goods, wares, merchandise, foodstuffs, insurance, magazines, books, services of any kind, for any kind of consideration whatever. That's a solicitor. Right? That makes McDonald's a solicitor. Seeking to obtain gifts or contributions of money, clothing, or other valuable things for the support and benefit of charitable nonprofit associations. Well, guess what? That's a solicitor. In both cases, they have to have a license from the city. If they don't, it's a $100 violation. Forget the $100. It's the fact that they can't go and register. The reason they can't register is the frickin' city doesn't exist. Solicitor, any person engaged in soliciting as defined in here. Soliciting shall not be deemed to include an exception, section something or other, that apply to any activity of non-commercial nature. There is no monetary purchase or donation of any valuable thing is being sought. Such activities include, by way of example only, canvassing for opinions, seeking to advocate, examine or discuss a cause, yada yada yada. Okay, every person desiring to engage in soliciting herein defined from persons in residence within the municipality is required to make a written application for a certificate of registration is hereinafter provided. Application for certificate of registration shall be made upon form provided by the chief of police of the municipality and filed with the chief. The chief of police shall require every applicant to submit to fingerprinting by the police department of the municipality in connection with the application for the certificate. All statements made by the applicant upon the application or in connection shall be under oath. Right? That's your oath and bond. Shall keep accurate record of every application received, acted upon, together with the information dating blah 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 blah. There you are. Issuance and revocation of a certificate after consideration of the application and all information obtained relative thereto. The chief of police shall deny the application if the applicant does not possess qualifications of said certificate of registration. Anyways, you get the idea. That's all. This is all has to do with solicitation. I think this is in Batavia, right? And yet, when you talk to them, well, we don't do that. We don't do that. No, we don't do that. No, nobody has that. That backup withholding that was on the W-9s, right? Government entities are subject to rules that require income tax withholding of 28% for certain payments if the payee is not exempt from backup withholding and fails to furnish correct taxpayer identification number. The IRS may also notify a payer to begin backup withholding because the payee, under reporting, failure to follow, right? So 28%. Because that W-9's not filled out right. Where's Kane County? Okay. So now let's look at these two next to each other. This is for the Geneva Public Library District. See, they didn't put anything on the name, right? We looked at this one earlier. This is the clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. They were proud. They put it on the first line. Right? They called themselves government. They're in the section, center. The library district called themselves governmental. I haven't gone to look what the difference is yet. For the address, they included the building. Although the address doesn't say the building, it says the number, the street, apartment, or whatever. Right? Should have been 50 West Washington. Street, room, 1005, but they put in the building, the name of the building. I don't know if that means anything, but you know, as you can see, so here is, so what they're saying is that this employee identification number goes to this, exactly this name. And so if we can get, well, this is one of the ones, so this is one of the ones I pointed out on my complaint to the Treasury. Go check that number and see if it matches that name. If not, great, probable cause to investigate. They're not supposed to put the name here unless that's the name that goes with this number. And somebody in Chicago told Roe, I mean, she was at the window or whatever, said, well, actually, it doesn't go to us, it goes to the county. You want to talk to the county about it, you got to go talk to the county there across the street. It didn't stop this guy, whoever this dude is here, from, you know, putting his pen scratch on it. And we'll find out what that means. But again, this is the reason to get the W-9s, right? Because we want to see what they're going to put and block in the name line compared to what's in the EIN, employer identification number blocks. Because if they don't do it properly, that means they're should be having a withholding of 28%, and if they're not having this withholding of 28%, if they're not exempt from that, well, then they must not be a municipal corporation. Yeah. Okay, school district. Kane Con, blah blah blah. I got that number. Now this one, I guess we'll read some of this because, right, that the IRS just gives all sorts of hints, right? Governmental units, such as state and their political subdivisions, are not generally subject to federal income tax. Political subdivisions of the state are entities with one or more of the sovereign powers of the state, such as the power to tax, right? The power to tax, eminent domain, and police power. Typically, they include counties or municipalities and their agencies or departments. Charitable contributions to governmental units are tax deductible under Section 170 of the Internal Revenue Code. Now, there's other entities that meet another section, 115. An entity that is not a governmental unit, but that performs an essential governmental function, may not be subject to federal income tax pursuant to Code 115. The income of such entities is excluded from the definition of gross income as long as the income is derived from a public utility or the exercise of an essential government function and accrues to the state, a political subdivision of the state, or the District of Columbia. There's the District of Columbia. It keeps coming up. Like, you know, maybe that's where we're supposed to register our businesses. Contributions made to entities whose income is excluded, income under Section 115 may not be tax exempt to contributions. Charitable exempt, okay, so I just explained the different types of things, right? So, we hope this general information will be of assistance to you. This letter, however, does not determine that you have any particular tax status. If you are unsure of your status as a governmental unit or a state institution whose income is excluded under Section 115, you may seek a private letter ruling by following the procedures specified in Revenue Procedure 2007-1, updated annually. Every year. Sounds like they need to ask for this letter. Because they're saying, right, this is to the school district that, hey, we're not saying that you are. Right? This response to your request for information about your federal tax status. Our records do not specify your federal tax status. That is very interesting. Our records do not specify your federal tax status. However, the following general information about tax treatment of state and local governments and affiliated organizations may be of interest to you. So these guys never, to me, what they're saying is you guys have never filled out an application to be tax exempt. We don't have any record of it. Our records do not specify your federal tax status. That's what we're going to change. We're going to make that frickin' record specify people's tax status. And we hope this general information will be of assistance to you. This letter, however, does not determine that you have any particular tax status. And you know what? This entity here in their CAFR account, Kane County Com School District, has like $85 million sitting in the bank. Net assets. Well, that was liquid assets or something. I think net assets or more. I can't remember because I looked at it a while ago. But all I know is they had $85 million sitting in the bank. So why are they asking for any more money? Well, the reason is there's really nobody who's elected to say, let's take a vote to pay our bills with what we have in the bank instead of asking for more bonds. Because the way it was left, when before, again, this is my opinion, just me speculating, before they vacated the offices in the du jour, the last thing they did was set it up so everything was done by bond, without a mechanism in place to go back to anything but being done by bond, until somebody figures out, hey, you guys really aren't corporations anymore, so quit taking the money. Or you're not the government. So if somebody's gone to court or jail or whatever, man, you need to be pounding these people, say, I need your EIN number. Right? And as soon as they fail to give it to you, you need to complain. Now, the IRS does have a place to complain to. I can remember where I put it. Hey, where did I put that one? Ooh, I guess in here. Federal, state, local governments, a closer look. Right? The FSLG is responsible for ensuring federal tax compliance by federal, quasi-governmental, and state agencies, city, county, other units of local government, and governmental entities in America, Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands. It's called the FSLG. And the FSLG's got phone numbers, right? National headquarters, Mid-Atlantic, this would be me, Amy Myers, Mansfield, Ohio. Delaware, District of Columbia, Illinois, Maryland, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio. How'd they pick that grouping? That's really strange to me. Federal agency group. All right, so, I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'm going to get a hold of the FAA and ask them for their information, because I'm really tired of them frickin' chemtrails going over my house. And if they don't have it, I'm going to turn them into the IRS and say, hey, man, these guys don't have, they're really not who they say they are. Maybe Martin Boswell. Hey, Martin, go check the FAA and see if they have a tax exemption tied to their EIN number. Right, so again, this is off the government's website, or off the IRS's website. It's called the Federal, State, Local Governments. They call it the FSLG, and they're supposed to ensure that they're following the law. And so I was going to call it. See, I was going to call these people, and that's what I thought I'd do at first. I'll just call this lady here. I'm going to give a call to Amy. But you know what happens when you try to make these phone calls is usually you end up getting put on hold or having to leave a message, and then you go about your business, and they always seem to call when it's the least convenient for you and you don't have your stuff in front of you and whatever. And they didn't give an email address or a fax number to send it, so I said, hell with that. I'll just send it directly to my friends at the Treasury and have them take a look at it. So right, it was because of finding things like this that prompted writing a complaint. And what other one can we look at here? Yes, one of the interesting things. Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity says that a taxing district means any unit of local government including a home rule unit, school district, community college district with the power to levy property taxes. And why is that? Well, because if you can levy a tax, that made you a unit of local government. The law also applies to new taxing districts. All right, so that wasn't blah, 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 but what I wanted to show you was whatever they're doing, eventually there's going to be a hearing notice, all taxing districts. And so this is supposed to be an idea of what they're supposed to fill out. And look what it says. Notice the proposed property tax increase for, and they want you to put the commonly known name of taxing district. They don't want the stinking real name. They want the commonly known name. No, we don't want the legal name. A public hearing to approve proposed increase for, and now they have to put the legal name of the taxing district. Right, so that should be, this name here should be the proper name of the, for lack of a better term, the legal title name of the entity. The one it does business under, can sue and be sued under. So you can't sue the city of Geneva, but you might be able to sue the city of Geneva, Illinois, right? Because that would be the proper name. And that's why when you try to do something with a plaintiff in a court case, well, that plaintiff doesn't exist. That isn't the proper name of the plaintiff. So I, the undersigned, hereby certify that I am presiding officer of legal name of the taxing district. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. If you could find this sample truth in taxation certificate of compliance for all counties having to do with a levy, and you're in Illinois, you might take this down and say, I'd like to see one of these filled out and see what they'll show you. I don't think they will, but because they don't do this kind of stuff. Right? They write what they're supposed to do, but it's never what they do. What was this? Annual financial report. Plainfield community. Here's another one. This is a different school. And without looking at everything, because how much are you going to look at? This is the one I always look at. Net assets. Total district assets exceeded its liabilities by $164,634,115. Total district assets exceeded its liabilities by that much. Now we know that that's the lowest they can possibly make it, because they always show the long-term debt number, but they never include in what your depreciation is going to be as an asset. So they take the long-term debt number off of whatever the numbers are to bring the numbers down. And then this talks about they have, a government funds, reconciliation of funds. It's like they're running two sets of books. I'd have to find the one that, and I don't think I'll be able to find it because I forgot exactly where it is, but right? Long-term debt is $350 million basically. Now why is that? Because they're not going to pay the shit off. They're going to keep rolling it over. Right? Right now they could pay everything off and have $164 million in the bank and not have any debt. They just paid the debt off. But because they're not going to, the long-term debt's going to be almost $350 million. Here we go. District-wide financial statements. The district-wide financial statements are designed to provide readers with a broad view of Plainfield School District. These statements measure inputs, outflow of economics in an accrual basis, statement net assets. I thought someplace in here it talked about two different things, like a statement of activities. I can't remember the one I was looking at yesterday. I have to forgive me, I almost spent more time on that. I have to find it later. What other one could we look at? I think this is the one we looked at earlier, right? Where you would think the county of Kane, because the county of Kane's got a seal. County of Kane treasurer. But it's actually what looks like to be the proper legal title name is the County of Kane of Geneva, Illinois, and Geneva is a city. Alrighty. Alrighty now then. What other ones can we look at? This was a CAFR report. It came off of Kane County's. This is Kane County's CAFR, where it said responsibility for both accuracy of the data and completeness and fairness of the presentation, including all disclosures, rests with the county's finance department, but never said who that was. But the county board selected this firm, and it has to meet that audit. Okay. I don't know if there's anything great in here or not. I don't think I was ever quite done with this. General account unassigned fund balance, $50 million. Now, I don't know, it may be like this in more places in Illinois than just in Kane County, but Kane County has a thing called the Forest Preserve District, right? And it's a component unit of Kane County, right? So this is something we wrote to the Forest Preserve yesterday. According to the title page of your annual financial report dated 30 June 2011, the Forest Preserve District of Kane County, Illinois, claims to be a component unit of Kane County. What's the component unit definition? A component unit is a legally separate organization for which the governing board and or management of the primary institution is financially accountable. It can be another organization for which nature and significance of its relationship with the primary institution is such exclusion would cause primary institution financial statements to be misleading or incomplete. So the component unit, because that definition wasn't the one I thought I put in there. It's like, Bob, that's not the right one. Fuck, don't matter. Another reason it can be a component unit is because the primary governmental board, which would be like the county board, in this particular county, 25 people, make up the board of another legally separate organization, which is what's happening here, which is the Forest Preserve District of Kane County, Illinois, which, when you look at the map at where all the county buildings are in Kane County, they're all in a forest preserve. Right? So the Forest Preserve has jurisdiction over the territory that consists of all of the county's buildings, the court, county clerk's office, recorder's office, register of deeds office, and so it's actually, looks like it's this forest preserve that is if there's any one that's a true government, it's this one. And so we asked for the EIN number, complete W-9, legal title, name of the entity, forms 1023, 1024, associated documents, IRS letter ruling for determination of tax exempt status, charter of other organization document, bylaws, ordinances. Right. So further, if one of your ordinances were violated, where would you go to pay the fine? Where does one register to do business in the political subdivision? Because they have a whole list of vendors. So, okay, well then maybe we need a list to be a vendor, or you need to have a permit. On the ordinance pages, they have a permit you're supposed to get. So we'll look at, where did I put that? Forest law. So here's their use ordinance. Forest Preserve District, nice enough to make this, right? Got a nice ordinance page, and whereas, wherefore, how to, blah, blah, blah. Goes on and on and on. Whereas. I'm going to get down to, what chapter was it? Regulation of personal conduct and behavior. Okay, vending and advertising. Unlawful obstructions. Drug alcohol use, weapons, harmful substances, hindering or bribing employees, control and treatment of animals, commercial photography, honoring permits by this act or speech, willfully or hinder, interrupt, interfere with a duly permitted activity, or unreasonably or willfully intrude upon any area. Right, so they do issue permits. Public urination and defecation. Enforcement. Okay. Right. So this is right again. This is a park district, right? All members of the district police have the power and are authorized to arrest, with or without process, any persons found in the act of violating the district or law of the state of Illinois. In all cases where the same offense shall be made punishable or shall be created by different clauses or sections of this or any other ordinance or statute, the district police or other duly sworn peace officer or person prosecuting may elect under which to proceed, but not more than one judgment shall be had against the same person for the same offense. They're going to try you in two different jurisdictions, excuse me, or they're going to pick one of the two of the multiple jurisdictions that they could do something in. They're supposed to give you a citation. I think it's going to tell us that in here. Here we go. Yeah. Violating provisions ordinance should be fined amount of not less than 75, no more than 500. That sounds like misdemeanor stuff. You got this part in here that has to do with parking. Paid 50. If a non-parking related mail-in citation is not paid within 60 days of its issuance, the mail-in citation shall be converted to a mandatory notice to appear at court, date certain, as stated therein, and the same shall be mailed by the district police department to the defendant by certified mail at the address shown on the original mail-in citation. A mail-in citation shall be in ticket form and shall not require a court appearance. Any non-parking related citation requiring the appearance of a defendant in court shall be governed by full fine authority above 75 minimum, 500 maximum, or those amounts may be amended by the division from time to time. Police officers of the district shall have the discretion to issue mail-in citations for violations of district ordinances where the officer determines that the circumstances taken as a whole do not justify a court appearance citation for the offense in question, and such discretion shall only citations for ordinances, violations, district of the district, blah blah blah. Sorry, I didn't read that very well. What that's saying is, and we take Roe's case as an example. Roe went to the county recorder's office. The county recorder's office is in a complex of buildings that's in a forest preserve. Roe was questioning, why am I paying $45 for a certificate where the law here says it's $5? Well, they couldn't get away with their normal answers and finally got frustrated and said, they're going to, that she was disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct. And she wasn't. So she left, and they called the police, who came and got her when she was in another building asking questions at the county clerk's office. And they issued a complaint, took her to jail, but they never gave her the citation they're talking about. And on her complaint, or it was on the arrest warrant that came afterwards, when you look at the address, it has the wrong zip code. Right, they did it on purpose. Maybe I can find that real quick. Give me just a second. It'd be interesting to look at. I don't remember. I don't remember. So much stuff. Is it in here? Municipality? Complaint. Okay, here we go. Hang on just a second. Let me get the other one open too. Okay, so row zip code is not 60175, it's 60174. Both of these zip codes are in the area, right? But they gave her, so they're going to mail it to the wrong zip code. Forget everything else, it's going to go to that zip code. And we look at the other one. Where was it? Zip 60175-0000. The only place I've ever seen that has 0000 is a courthouse. And it was here in Michigan. They put on their frickin' paperwork 0000. Right? So they whatever they did, they sent it so it didn't get to Roe. And they can say, well, we sent it to you. Right? Oh, we made a mistake, put the wrong address. Well, you never got it. So 60 days later, guess what? All right, you're not complying with the law. Mail-in citation. They didn't give her one to start with. So now that they didn't give her one, they're going to send her another one in the mail. Where was that at? If a non-parking related mail-in citation is not paid within 60 days, the mail-in citation shall be converted to a mandatory notice to appear at the court. As stated therein, the same shall be mailed by the District Police Department to the defendant by certified mail at the address shown in the original mail-in citation, which they never gave Roe, but if they had, using the address that they have, it was going to go to the wrong zip code. And bing, just like that, you haven't paid it. And so, you know, this is all about a fine for disturbing the peace that hasn't been paid. Nothing in this ordinance shall construe to prevent other officers from carrying out their sworn duties within territories of the district as defined by applicable law, state of Illinois, United States Ordinance, Kane County, Illinois, or in accordance with any other intergovernmental police agreement approved by the board. Goes on and on. It's good stuff, right? But like most things, right? So you're reading all this and you're reading all this, and it's all really wonderful, and you know, you keep going, and you get to the part that matters, which is, you know, they wrote all this and they approved and passed this on the 8th day of August 1995. But nobody signed it. Right? Nobody signed it. Here's another one, another ordinance afterwards, adopted and passed. But nobody signed it. Another one. Right? Nobody signed it. And I think if we go to the very first page, there's some place in here that it said what they had to do, that they had to right to power to appoint, maintain sufficient police force. Yeah. Board has right and power to appoint and maintain a sufficient police force, the members of which have and exercise police powers over the territory within the forest preserves for the preservation of public peace, disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct, and the observance and enforcement of ordinances by laws. And those things they do not require any service. They just pull you in. Such as conferred upon, exercised by the police of organized cities and villages, but such force, when acting within the limits of the city or village, shall act in aid of regular police force or such city or village, and shall then be subject to the direction of its chief of police, city, village. Okay. So it sounds like not only can they operate within the jurisdiction of the um, forest, they can operate within the jurisdiction of the city as deputies. Somewhere in here they had a thing though where I think it said that they had to I just can't read the stuff fast enough. Oh well, somewhere it said they had to publish it. So if it has to be published, then there has to be an affidavit of publishing. You would think I could find that in here. District here and regulate, control, issue, comply, provides, and follows. The board shall be the corporate authority of such forest preserve district and shall have power to pass and enforce all necessary ordinances, rules, regulations for the management of the property and conduct a business of such district, and it is reasonable, necessary, and desirable district provide for safe, peaceful use of the forest preserve, the education, recreation of the public, the protection and preservation of property, facilities, flora, fauna, forest reserves, and the safety and general welfare of the public. And the district has the authority and the power to establish this general use regulation ordinance by the president of the board of commissioners as follows. And it goes on. So, okay, anyways, all that to say, right, make them whine, ask for a W-9. Go fill out a FOIA. If you got a foreclosure going on, send a letter. Look at your paperwork. It's going to tell you this is the attorney of record, and if you have any correspondence for the plaintiff, you're supposed to send it to him. So say, yeah, I need the dude's EIN number, and especially if it has like N.A. right? If it's a national association, that associations are tax exempt nonprofits. So, but as far as the bank is concerned, right? Whoever the plaintiff is, you want to get an EIN number for it, and you want to make sure that they tell you that that is the legal title name that goes to the EIN number. Now, the great thing is if you have the EIN number, now you can just contact the IRS and say by FOIA and ask for the information that's publicly available that's tied to that EIN number. And so, to get an EIN number, I don't remember what form you fill out, but you fill out some form to get one, and well, we'll know who it is then. And if they're pretending to be a municipal corporation and they don't have all this other paperwork, they got a big problem. Oh, here we go. If the bank is the plaintiff, right, you want their EIN, their legal title name, their license to do business under an assumed name, and an IRS determination letter. They may tell you don't have to have one, but still you want to ask them and you want to make them answer. If you don't like the answers, then you send it to somebody and say, hey, I think there's fraud, waste, and abuse going on. But, we need to be making the right accusation to the right office. And so I say, I'm going to try to do it as an information and get them to come and depose me, and I'll show them some information. I'll show them some stuff. So we'll see how that goes. I thought I'd put it out now in case, hey, who knows? Maybe they come by helicopter, right? Or maybe they say, hey, take your lawn chair, be in front of the courthouse at 1 o'clock and get ready for a perp walk. That's what I'm hoping for. Just let me know where the perp walk is so I can take my lawn chair and have some popcorn. Okay, y'all have a great day. We'll see ya. But one last thing. Can you donate? PayPal. AshleyRadlewski@gmail.com is the PayPal name. Robert Radlewski 10955, 14 Mile Road, Rockford, Michigan 49341 is the snail mail. Have a great day. See ya.